Before starting the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The two young men sat on the bench, heads bowed. Sighing sorrowfully, they occasionally glanced at each other with judgmental eyes and grinned understandingly. Alcohol and a violent temper, sooner or later, leads to problems, the solution of which requires even more effort than it took to create them. Do I have to carry pots for them now? Or spoon-feed them? It's a farce, for God's sake, Yegor said with a twist of his cheeks. What to do, my friend? We had a good time. Now you'll have to pay for it. You know that you have to pay for everything. It wasn't my idea, Kirill remarked reasonably. Behind the eyes, in the office of their firm, the couple were called brothers. They were inseparable and hung around together. The ringleader, of course, was Yegor, a bold bacchanal and incorrigible womanizer. As a representative of the office plankton, he deeply dreamed of becoming a shark business, not realizing that for such a striking transformation, you must first get off the heel of the chair. The bosses never bet on Yegor, entrusting him with minor, or as they like to say in such cases, adapted cases. He was an errand boy, dreaming of big boss status. For this, in his mind, it was enough just to be in the right place at the right time and go from pawns to queens in an instant. If he had written poetry, then, quite in disposition and appearance, he could pass for Yesenin, or rather, a dark-haired copy of him. But, unfortunately, God did not bless him with poetry, so he preferred to just hang out with Kirill, wasting his life, and melted before his eyes' savings. His parents were technicians with a communist bent. It came as a complete surprise to them that their only son did not share their ideals, showing a penchant for a life of debauchery. "Well, when are we going to the poor?" asked Kirill sadly, hoping until the last moment that the situation could somehow be resolved. "Well, big things are not done on Monday, and even in the morning. Let's do it tomorrow, Yegor suggested hopefully, experiencing a terrible attack of laziness. "No, let's do it right now, if that's how the map looks like. Tomorrow or today makes no difference. Anyway, we'll have to work hard in this shelter for more than a month," said his friend. "Och, let's go. God will not give us away, and a pig will not eat us up," said Yegor doomfully. Not long ago it was different, and their friends, enjoying themselves to the fullest, did not notice how they had crossed a dangerous line. While watching the match in a sports bar, one of the couple made a dirty joke about the opposing team. Of course, they couldn't have known that half of the place was packed with the opposing team's scarves. The case ended in a fight, window bashing, and a night spent in the police station. But that wasn't all. With the look of an executioner, the judge imposed 300 hours of community service, which they were to serve in the city's shelter for the handicapped. It was located on the far side of town, as if the authorities were trying to hide from human eyes the unsightly truth of the wretched and weak of this world. "Give up hope, everyone who enters here," ironically stretched Yegor, looking at the unsightly gray building of the Soviet standard with metal plastic package windows. What did you say?" interrupted Kirill. "Welcome to the realm of potties, diapers, and sterile clean toilets," said Yegor snarkily. It turns out that their arrival, the leadership has already been notified. Guests were welcomed, shown, and explained the work front. "So, young people, from you I need an hour and a half on weekdays and 3 on weekends." Briefly introduced them to the head nurse. As it turned out, they could only be trusted to clean the yard of leaves, twigs, and other debris. Of course, the boys tried to dodge the task, but such tricks with the nurse, the hostess, did not pass. One day, frantically wielding a broom, Yegor saw a young girl being led by 2 orderlies under her arms. Not that it was anything extraordinary, since the other patients were also helped, but walks with the girl were conducted daily. Sometimes the attending physician would walk in front of her. By the way he behaved, Yegor concluded that the girl was wealthy. The doctors behaved in front of her like an experienced waiter trying to woo an oil sheik for a tip. "Who do you think it is?" he asked his friend. He just shrugged his shoulders and indefinitely shook his head, saying that it made no difference. But it mattered to Yegor. Like an experienced fox, he smelled that the henhouse, which was full of fat, appetizing birds, was not locked. In his mind, at the speed of light, various thoughts began to swirl. He saw that the girl was being picked up on weekends by a huge BMW of the latest model, the cost of which exceeded the annual salary of all the nurses combined. And Yegor felt that his star lit up in the sky, promising a sweet and hassle-free life. The next morning, he, with champagne and candy, went to the head nurse. There he simply, without any offense, laid out the essence of his request. "Olga Petrovna, personified a woman severe and principled, but on her own misfortune was a terrible sweet tooth. Of course, the pernicious predilection made her depressed, but with bubbles of champagne, any caprice looked much more pleasant, doesn't it? So, having got her support, Yegor, the next day, instead of an orderly, already held a stranger under his arm. She had a long-standing spinal injury, and its consequences were affecting the well-being of the girl even many years later. "And what's your name?" Yegor asked, taking a moment. "Why? Are orderlies supposed to be so nosy?" ironically remarked the stranger. "No, I do not insist, of course, if it is such a secret. My name is Yegor," said the boy in an indifferent tone. "Well, why is it a secret? My name is Diana. I'm 30 years old, and I'm disabled. I'm going to spend the rest of my life on crutches and trying on a wheelchair. The question is over," the girl replied in a calm, devoid of life tone. Charm Yegor came across an impregnable fortress, so he realized that his plan is flying in the trash, which means that he had to act differently, and immediately, here and now. The daily operation with candy and wine, he could not afford. "You shouldn't do that, Diane. Believe me, it's not a sentence. My uncle, he was cured. You know, Oriental medicine can work real miracles," said Yegor as he went along, knowing very well that there were no such miracles among his relatives. The girl visibly perked up, and the sly catcher felt that he was acting in the right direction. Step by step, he picked up the keys to her soul. The walk quickly ended in dryly. Having said goodbye, the girl secluded herself in her room. It's not that she liked this guy with a cheeky, greasy look. Just there was something special about him, peculiar to him. It so often happens that the worst kind of scoundrels turn out to be very charismatic people. Diane tossed herself to sleep for a long time, unable to fall asleep. She could not get out of her mind Yegor and his words, which gave her hope in her heart. In the morning, she searched for his figure with her eyes. But with disappointment, she saw that he was gone. Where was he? Where had he gone? Don't like me, or am I just causing pity? Diana thought sadly. Suddenly, a shadow grew in front of her. She looked up, and there he is. Yegor, in full dress, and with a huge bouquet of roses. And now, the center services include delivery of flowers to the most beautiful girls. "Your candidacy has won the unanimous decision of the judges," smiled Yegor. Diana bloomed, probably even brighter than the roses in her hands. She was not devoid of feminine beauty and grace, so flowers even more emphasized her appearance. Today, they walked longer than usual. He was cracking jokes with his charm mode on. At one point, Diana felt that she didn't notice her disability at all. She, like any normal girl, was flirting and making eyes, sighing languidly and waiting for her boyfriend's compliments. How she wanted to be happy. That happiness, when you want the person you love to be there for you, for better or for worse. Drinking tea in the evenings and discussing interesting books, treating each other for colds, and, in general, enjoying the little things together, like a blooming cactus on the windowsill or bathing the cat. When you're confined to a wheelchair for half your life, any kiss or hug takes on a special meaning. Whether it was love at first sight, it's hard to say. Perhaps if Diana had been in a different position, there would have been no need for this rogue. But as it was, he was like an alligator on a crossing, waiting for his chance to treacherously attack her heart. "Why do you want her? Why do you fool her head?" Kirill asked. He was a slacker, but he had no meanness in his soul. "This is my golden key to a new life full of opportunities. Do you understand? I'm tired of working for sugar daddies and shuffling my feet. Soon my time will come, and I will not miss my chance," Yegor said with hope in his voice. His expectations, strangely enough, were not deceived. They saw Diana almost daily. Flowers, beautiful words, and pretty trinkets, which melts a loving heart like chocolate in the tropical sun. One day she decided to introduce him to her mother, Daria Ivanovna. Knowing that the woman is crazy about the poets of the Silver Age, he taught a couple of Yesenin's works, but neither a luxurious bouquet of roses, quoting the words of the great poet, nor a disarming smile could not deceive Daria Ivanovna. She saw right through him. After all, her daughter, blinded by love, was very trusting. In Yegor's eyes, the future mother-in-law saw only money signs, like in an ATM machine. He slept and saw when he could stretch out his hands to them. Daria Ivanovna felt sorry for Diana. At the age of 15, she had been in a car accident with her father. Only her seat belt saved her from death, preventing her fragile body from finally crashing to pieces. That day, the woman remembered forever, when in an instant she lost her husband and became the mother of an invalid girl. The capital her husband had accumulated was enough to provide the girl with everything she needed, but it wasn't enough money to give her love. And this young rascal did the impossible, instilling hope and faith in her heart for a happy future. "Why are you looking at me like that? As if you're studying?" Yegor asked with a sneering touch. "Yes, young man, I think. Are your feelings sincere?" Daria Ivanovna asked straightforwardly, without a shadow of embarrassment, as if she did not notice the reproachful look of her daughter. "I love your daughter more than anything in the world," said Yegor, knowing that he had earned in Diana's heart the great trust. The future mother-in-law was silent, all her appearance showing contempt for the young man. "You should understand, my daughter. He is a scoundrel. I can smell it a mile away. He only wants your money, you know. So tell me, why does he want you?" Diana's mother asked harder than she should have. "I'm 30 years old, Mom. Do I have to be unhappy and alone for the rest of my life? Yegor loves me and wants to tie his life to me." Diana broke into tears and cried. No matter how much Daria Ivanovna resisted the wedding, it still happened. There was practically no one at Yegor's side. Kirill, unable to watch Diana's deception, stopped communicating with his friend. He could not accept this way of life and go over his head. Everything passed modestly and was devoid of pathos. In order to connect Yegor to the family business, he was put in charge of one of the firms. The dodgy scoundrel liked being in charge, but was reluctant to go into the intricacies of market relations. In the morning, you could find him in a restaurant or casino. At lunchtime, he could appear in the office for 5 minutes and then disappear again until morning. Chic outfits, expensive cars, and gorgeous women surrounded him on all sides. Diana, loving him unrequitedly, did not seem to notice his adventures. For a long time, Yegor had a secret, which he had managed to hide for a while. Even before he met Diana, he had relations with Kirill's sister Natasha. Our heartthrob liked her, and deep down she was like him. One day in the heat of his feelings, he shared with her his thoughts that it would be a good idea to get rid of Diana and head the empire on his own. Natasha, being a clever and far-sighted girl, took the conversation with her lover and recorded it on a tape recorder. "Why? Let it be, it will come in handy," she thought. However, she found a use for the recording rather quickly. She met Daria Ivanovna in exchange for money and gave her the tape of her relationship with her son-in-law. The woman had not really liked Diana's boyfriend before, and now she fully realized what kind of snake she and her daughter had nested in their breasts. After listening to the tape, Diana felt bad. All night long, she cried into her pillow while Yegor entertained his mistress. In the morning, she came out of the room with red, inflamed eyes, full of pain and determination. The phone call caught Yegor off guard. Daria Ivanovna hardly ever called him, and here she was, in person, on the phone. "Hello, Yegor. Come quickly. We have a misfortune. Diana died. She got sick. She fell down. She hemorrhaged in the brain." The shocked guy stood there and couldn't decide whether to rejoice or cry. The problem solved itself, and he didn't have to get his hands dirty either. "Well, now there's no hurry. My money will not go anywhere from me," thought Yegor, and after another feast, fell asleep. He came to himself only in the evening and put on a mask of sorrowful bitterness and went home. Diana's mother, wearing a black kerchief, met him on the doorstep. She looked at him reproachfully and said, "Couldn't you come earlier, Yegor? And why do you smell of woman's perfume and wine a mile away? What's this interrogation? Daria Ivanovna, what's the matter with you?" "I don't have to answer to you," snapped Yegor. "So that's how we talk, and how do dumped puppies grow up to be scum like you?" "I don't know," said my mother-in-law angrily. "Guess what? Pretty soon, all this will belong to me, and then we'll see how you sing. And now, get out of here. And I don't want your spirit to be here." Yegor shouted with every word. The mother-in-law, without a word, got ready and left into the night. In the morning, there was a knock at the door. His mother-in-law stood on the doorstep again. "What is it this time? Why did you come here?" Yegor asked unhappily. "Darling, when will this house be ours?" asked a languid female voice from the bedroom. "We won't. I'm sorry," came from behind Daria Ivanovna. Yegor went pale and started to gasp for air. My mother-in-law stepped aside, making way for her guest. In front of the astonished ex-husband, leaning on a cane, stood Diana. Limping, she stepped inside. "Sorry for all this theater, dear. But it was impossible otherwise. But I could not keep up with you. You're just an expert on women's hearts." "Okay, that's unnecessary. Now about the marriage contract. When you were in such a hurry to marry me, you did not notice a tiny clause in the contract. So a tiny. It says that if you lead an immoral life or are unfaithful to me, then I have the right to demand a divorce without any division of property. So, you're not the only smart one, it turns out. And now, goodbye. Thank you for the pleasant emotions," said Diana, and played him the tape of the conversation with Natasha and Daria Ivanovna. He was a little bit woozy and realized that he had been outplayed. No matter how cunning he was, he still lost everything he had. The very next morning, his things were thrown down the stairs. He never showed up in Diana's life again. Our heroine still had a long time to heal wounds, afraid to let anyone near her. And now, rumor has it, she has found a new love, though now it is real, without divorce or marriage contracts.